Alrighty, so today I've got the final card review for Secrets of Power. The entire set has been revealed, and I'm going to talk about the last bulk of cards. Includes a couple leaders and a whole lot else. Before we get going, please hit that subscribe button, and if you're interested in some more content from me, including some early Secrets of Power deck lists, do check out my Patreon as well. Alright, so how does this work? Well, as always, I'm going to be previewing the leaders first, and then I'll be going through all the cards color by color, spending more time on the high value cards. Now, this card dump at the end did include a decent amount of filler cards. I'm not going to spend that much time on them. We did also get some high powered cards. Going to spend a lot more with that. But before I get into that review, I just wanted to do a brief commentary on the set as a whole. Now, starting the first half of preview season, you may have seen that I was probably a little down overall on the set. I do think that the power level of the set grew in the second half of the preview season. There's going to be impactful cards. The plot mechanic is going to be pretty strong, I think, in a lot of different decks. I definitely think post-rotation, we're going to see a lot more things become playable in this set, but overall I was happier with the second half of preview season. There's more things to brew with. One note, the leaders I think are probably a little bit on the weaker side overall. Again, post-rotation, a lot of that might change when we lose a lot of the kind of powerful on-rate leaders that aren't even very build-around specific. But right now, the leaders maybe aren't super pushed, but, you know, that's okay. And let's get into the card review. So we're going to start with the first of two leaders. It's Jabba the Hutt, the new villain Cunning leader. Now, this is a 5-flip Jabba. He has a front-side action that costs 1. He says a friendly damage unit deals 1 damage to an enemy unit. If the friendly unit has 3 or more damage on it, you then deal 2 damage instead. And he flips into a 2/8. Which is a lot of health on a 5-flip, not a lot of power, but he has new text when he's a unit. He says when another friendly unit is dealt damage and survives, so it has to survive that damage, you may have that unit deal that much damage to an enemy unit, and you can only use this ability once each round. So let's start with the leader side, and then we'll go into the unit side, because the leader side, frankly, is a really bad ability. This is well below rate. It's strange to see a pinging ability like this that that requires a build around, right? It requires damage on your units. It requires a specific board state. It's strange to see it cost 1, honestly. We see so many ping abilities in this game that are free. There's one in this set, Padme. That's a free one. They all have restrictions, right? Padme requires Disclose. We've seen Quinlan requires units to match. Cad Bane requires Underworld. Asajj requires you ping one of your own units. But whatever it may be, all those pinging effects are free. And this one costs 1. It is a really bad ability. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you use this ability 0 times in a game where you play Jabba the Hutt. There is like that slight upside here where it can sometimes do 2 damage. But think about this. Play some games, tell me how many times you have 3 or more damage on a unit, and you think using this ability is a powerful use of your time. It's not going to be a lot. This ability, I think you can mostly ignore it. I don't think you need to spend a lot of time thinking about units that come into play and self-damage themselves in your Jabba build. I don't think most of that matters. You can play things like Death Trooper, right? There's like that 2/5 that deals 2 to himself. I think mostly, unless you think those cards are going to be good regardless, you can ignore this ability, and you're playing this leader because of its flip effect, his unit side, which is in fact quite powerful. So how does this unit side work? Well, it's going to create really powerful board interaction for you. Pairs incredibly well with ambush. If you ambush something and your ambushing unit survives, it will then be able to redirect all the damage it took onto itself onto something else. I guess not redirect, it's not healing itself, but deal damage twice. So you can essentially ambush and kill 2 units at once. Jabba is the kind of unit, especially with 8 health, that's theoretically going to stick around a little bit. If you can create powerful flip turns, start taking over the board, make it difficult for your opponent to actually spend time killing Jabba because they have to interact with your more powerful units that are dealing more damage, all of a sudden this guy stays in play and keeps enabling his ability once each round, right? Can only do it once, but, you know, very powerful effect with ambush specifically, but also if you have a board already, you flip Jabba, you can start attacking your units into things and then dealing more damage, right? It goes across arena, it can go into space if you need it, or space can go onto the ground if needed. You know, Vader ambushing with this guy, maybe with like ECL, you can like put the shield on Jabba. Vader kills 2 units with his ambush and his effect, and then all the damage he takes, maybe he can move that damage to a 3rd unit, kill 3 things with this Vader. You know, you can do some really powerful stuff with this unit side. It is just a shame how bad the leader ability is. And that may hold him back. In fact, it probably will, because I don't think you can create a whole deck that revolves just around Jabba being in play forever. And that is a pretty big knock on his overall power level. And, you know, even though his unit side is really strong, it is not without its weaknesses, right? Against decks that are dodging a particular arena, usually the ground arena, it's going to be harder to trigger. Him not being much of a threat when he's in play is also kind of an issue, unless you can buff him with something. So there's weaknesses kind of all around. It's a powerful unit ability. It's a very weak leader side. And as such, it's probably not a particularly powerful leader overall. All right, and the last new leader for the set, Cassian Andor. And he's very interesting, to say the least. He just has a static effect on his leader side. It says friendly units that have damaged an opponent's base this phase can't be attacked. So, weird, right? you just go face with all your units, and they can't attack them for the turn, right? So, yeah, typically the units that you attack with early in a turn are not the priority units to be removed, but they often are the ones people want to remove, right? Especially a more defensive deck that has, like, you attack base, now they want to be able to use their unit to attack into yours. They can't, so they have to kind of do something, and then you can kind of decide how you want to proceed with your turn. So it's definitely an interesting sequencing ability. It's okay. It's not, like, incredible, but it very much does some annoying things for your opponent. On top of that, no cost to doing it, right? So that's cool. It's obviously doing one thing and one thing only, which is going, like, playing a hard aggro deck that's going face, right? So we'll have to see what we can do. Now, the unit, also very strange. So he's a 6 flip, and he's a 6/2 rebel with Overwhelm, and he says while you have the initiative, this unit can't be defeated by having no remaining HP and can't be defeated by enemy card abilities. So it's kind of a spin on the set 1 turret's ability. Now, this will still take damage, right? It's just the damage won't kill it while you have initiative. So if it takes damage and then your opponent claims, this will instantly die, so to speak. It also survives through shrinking effects, so things like Anakin giving this -3/-3 would not kill it, because that also counts as no remaining HP and just does not die from that. And you can't use things like Takedown to defeat it while the Cassian player has initiative. So like, the whole gimmick here with Cassian is that you are managing initiative throughout the game to make sure you have it on your 6 resource turn, because you need to be able to get this 6 damage in and then represent maybe a second 6 damage or 6 plus however much if you're going to, like, attack with Cassian, claim, and, like, aggressive negotiations for, like, another +5 or whatever you're going to do with, like, some pump. So you have to manage that ability. His leader side does help a little bit with that, because your opponent can't action churn by attacking into your units. They have to, like, spend their resources first sometimes because they can't kill your units. Then you can play a unit, and then if your opponent wants to do anything with their attackers, they might be giving up initiative to you. So that's kind of this whole mini game. Now, Cassian having 2 health, it's kind of a joke sometimes, right? You're not often getting tons of attacks off with this guy. You attack with him, they put damage into him. You have to decide if you're going to claim or not. Your opponent can also, like, first action claim next turn if this has damage on it, just to, like, make him die. Him not having Saboteur is also a pretty big downside. Much would have preferred that to Overwhelm, because Sentinels are certainly going to be a really annoying thing for this leader to deal with. Now, I think there's a cool package here. I am just having a very, very difficult time thinking this can be like supplant Sabine in any meaningful way. It is in the exact same color. It is a turbo face aggro deck, and that is what Sabine does. And, you know, Sabine's only going to be in the format for another 4 months, but for me, I don't think Cassian's time to shine will be during Sabine's existence in Premiere. So maybe get some ideas down, play with this. It's not going to be weak. It's probably going to be a decent aggro deck. It just, in my mind, will not be able to compete with a Sabine aggro or maybe even like a Han 2 aggro deck. It's just doesn't have as much like freebie value in it. It requires much more nuanced deck construction. It has more counterplay than those leaders do because of the way the initiative game works with him. You know, maybe that's better, and like an aggro deck needs to have more counterplay around it, but it doesn't yet. And Sabine and even Han, I think, are going to be just better versions. So maybe for now we wait and we revisit this in 4-ish months when set 7 comes out. All right, into the rest of the cards. Now, Vigilance definitely got kind of the short end of the stick in this final card dump. Only a couple cards I even want to talk about specifically. One is Captain Rex. He's a 6-cost 7/7 in Heroic. When played and when it completes an attack, it gives its self-sentinel and an enemy unit sentinel. So, you know, he comes into play and he's immediately a 7/7 sentinel. It also gives one of your opponent's unit sentinel, which, you know, it's mostly downside, but it can sometimes be upside if you need to, like, attack something and it's hiding behind a sentinel, so you give it sentinel and now you can get an attack in on it. It goes in the same realm of like all these other 6-cost beefy sentinels that blue tends to have, like Obi-Wan and Mandalorian, whatever other ones. Now at 7 health and 7 power, it's definitely bigger than all of those things. I don't think it does anything drastically different than those, and the sentinel of course isn't permanent, although it does come back. So it's a decent card, and, you know, it's not doing anything new, so to speak. So wherever you kind of value those other 6-cost sentinels, he's in that realm of power. And the other one is Senate Wardens, a 2-cost 2/2. It says when defeated, you may disclose blue if you do give an experience token to a unit. Really, the only place I could see including this right now would be a Thrawn deck. It's not really a turn 1 play in the Thrawn deck because, you know, you probably won't have units to give experience to, but somewhere else in your turn sequencing, this can fit in, and, you know, this dies and would give double experience. That's decent. It's just okay, though. I'm not even sure Thrawn would want it. The rest of these are mostly not exciting. Escape Pod is a really cool card. I just don't think it's any good. It's a 1-cost 0/3. When played, it captures one of your own units. So, you know, you can protect one of your own units, which is interesting. It can, like, heal it, hide it from removal, whatever it is. It's weird. You got these Umbran mobile cannon. They actually made a full cycle of 6-cost kind of beefy units. These are primarily for limited, but here's the blue one. It's a 7/3. That says the first time this unit would take damage each phase, prevent that damage. Could actually be pretty annoying to remove in limited. Then we got Relief Request. Heal 3 from a unit. You may disclose blue if you do heal 3 from another unit. Cost 2. It's not great. And Scour the Archives is a 1-cost that says search the top 8 cards of your deck for an upgrade, reveal it, and draw it. Again, 1-cost sort of searching effects just for upgrades. I don't think we're in the market for that in most decks. All right, so now we're going to get into the command section, and there are a lot of cards here. And the first is going to be Queen Amidala. This is a new legendary, 5-cost, 5/3. When played, create 2 spy tokens. If damage would be dealt to this unit, you may defeat another friendly unit that shares a trait with this unit. And if you do, prevent that damage. Notably, the spies do share a trait with Queen Amidala, so they can kind of tank for her. You know, this might be the best legendary in the set. It has certainly a good argument. I still don't think it's, like, the best card ever. This one is certainly a playable legendary, though, so can't complain about that. Been complaining a lot about most of the legendaries. It's a big value play, right? You're getting 3 units for 1 card. It's a lot of potential power, right? There's 5 here. Both the spies have raid 2, so it's kind of putting 9 power into the board over 3 units. Now, it doesn't immediately affect the game in any meaningful way, right? Because it's a 5 cost that just kind of like puts things into play. And we do often have, at least I mention a lot, like 5 costs do nothing. Now, this is not quite a 5 cost do nothing, because that's more reference to the fact that if your 5 cost play gets removed or attacked and defeated, then you get 0 value. And that's not the case here, because this does leave behind help, right? So even if Queen Amidala is defeated or your spies are defeated, something might survive to give you some value overall from your 5 cost play. But it doesn't do anything the turn you play. It doesn't provide you any way to like deal with your opponent. It doesn't defend you from anything. So it's a little slow. It's definitely a slow card. It's going to require particular shells that can kind of deal with that kind of tempo loss. You know, you think something like a Ray deck potentially, which may have been able to set up Sentinels, is certainly a grindy value deck, and this is definitely a grindy value card. This is a very good card against control decks, putting 3 units into play. But don't forget, these spies can often be freely removed. So decks that aren't just trying to like remove with events and have units in play to interact with your board might just get free kills off of those. She only has 3 health, of course, so not too difficult to remove. Of course, the spies can tank for her, which is important. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of power built into this because it's a lot of value on your 5 cost card, right? Compared to like other 5 costs that are just like 5 cost, big stats, maybe has a cool on attack or something, but like if they're removed, nothing happens. This is value. You're getting card advantage kind of incidentally from the tokens, and I think this will help in grindy hero mid-range decks, and certainly in any combo style mono green decks that run Unity of Purpose, which, you know, may or may not be a meta thing, but got a lot of help in the set in a variety of ways, because there's more leaders that can run that sort of combo, and then there's a lot more good green units to play early now. So that's what I got on Queen Amidala. Probably the best legendary in the set. Wouldn't be the best legendary in probably any other set, but it is what it is. Next up, we got the Imperial Dark Trooper, and this is Battlefield Marine for villain, so it's just a 3/3 with blank text with relevant traits: Imperial, Droid, and Trooper. So, you know, Droid matters for like Invisible Hand style decks. Imperial matters for like Tarkin and any of the buffing like Snow Trooper stuff. Trooper, it can matter too, although I don't think Trooper aggro is going to matter. This can go in a lot of places. It can be an aggro card. It can be a control card. It's just a good unit. This is like a pretty meaningful gain for villain green. It took until set 6 for villain to match the Battlefield Marine, but here it is, and it's good. We got Renowned Dignitaries, 6 cost Heroism unit. It's a 5/6 overall. 1 played, heal 2 damage from base for each friendly official unit. Just want to call this out because if there does happen to be like a mono official deck, maybe a Mon Mothma, Unity of Purpose deck, or whatever it may be, this can be an important card in like race situations against like pilot decks, decks that don't interact and are just trying to race you, because this can come in and heal you like 10 pretty easily if your opponent's not removing your officials. If you're just like curving out officials, maybe you play Queen Amidala, that puts 3 officials into play the turn before this. It's just an insane amount of heal on a 6 cost unit that can definitely flip the race, because a lot of time these mono green decks that are just trying to like grind out value, the reason they lose is because they can't kill their opponents, because they can't kill their opponent quickly enough, because it takes them too many actions to do it. You slam this and then it doesn't matter anymore, because your opponent can't kill you anymore that turn, and then all your units can maybe finish them off or whatever it may be. So an interesting card for that kind of style. Beloved Order for exactly the same kind of deck. It's a 2/3 that makes a spy for 3. It's just putting 2 units into play. It looks a bit better to me than Batch Brothers, which is a similar card in Twilight, because that was a 2/1 plus a 2/2. This is a 2/3 plus an O2 Raid 2. I think that's just better. It's also in a better color because green, again, this is the grindy, value-based engine deck. The only place I would probably include a card like this would be like the Unity of Purpose style build, and even then it might not be good enough, but it's still like a solid little unit. And then some less exciting stuff. We got the Diplomatic Envoy. It's a 2-cost 2/2 ship. When you play it, you may disclose green. If you do, the next unit you play this phase gains ambush. The problem is you spent 2 on this, which means you have 2 less resources to play on a good unit. So whatever unit you're going to ambush isn't going to be that strong, and this unit itself isn't very good. We got a 4-cost event, Renewed Friendship. Return a unit from your discard pile to your hand and create 2 spy tokens. I don't think that's good enough value. We got Senator's Aid. It's a 1-cost 0/3. While you have initiative, it gets +2/+0. I think these decks, these go wide decks, typically don't have initiative very often, so it doesn't seem to work there. Ferrix Uprising, deal damage to a unit equal to twice the number of units you control in its arena. That's probably going to be a decent limited card. And then Shadowcrawler is the green 6-cost kind of beater that I think I mentioned with the blue one, the 7/3. So this one is a 7-cost 6/7 ambush. Depending on how slow or fast the limited format is, this could be either very good or too late. So keep tabs on that. All right, and aggression time. So the first one is a double aggression card. This is Chairman Papanoida. It's a 2/6, so 6 is a lot of health for a 3-drop. It says when a player draws 1 or more cards during the action phase, you may disclose red. If you do, make a spy. This card's really solid. I mean, it triggers off both players, and in double red, you're definitely playing the card Aggression, which can draw a card, which curves in after this and give you a spy. Dedra, for instance, if you want to play her in double red, she has an ability that draws a card, so now if your opponent has even more incentive to let you actually just deal 2 damage with that ability. Of course, if your opponent's playing like Pershing or something, or any things that draw cards, remember, everything that even searches deck usually says draw a card, then you can get some spies. And it's just really nice also for the 3-cost slot in the double red deck to have a unit that has like more than 4 health, which is kind of difficult to find. So overall, I think a solid addition to a mono red deck, especially like aggro decks. Corellian Hounds is a 5-cost 5/5 creature. If an opponent controls no ground units, this unit enters play ready. So maybe a tech card against like mono space decks, because 5-cost that comes into play ready as a 5/5's pretty beefy. Karis Nemec is a fantastic new 2-drop in Heroism. It's a 3/2 rebel, so it's got a good trait. It's hidden. Now, I don't usually like 3/2s on turn 1, especially in a world with 2/4s being a very popular stat line, but this has a when defeated, and you may disclose red and Heroism. If you do, you create a spy token and you ready that token. So, if they do hit into it and kill it with a 2/4, you do have a spy that can immediately trade back, so you just stay neutral on value. This has hidden, so it's going to have some later game potential to represent damage, because it's going to be difficult to remove the turn you play it. This can trade into something and then leave behind a unit that can then attack base. So it's just a lot of ways that you can push damage or create board interaction with this. Seems like really good potentially with Anakin, who now has 2 bodies that he may be able to use his ability on. This can attack for 5 into something, or if it trades into something, then the token can attack for 4 into something. That's really cool. But essentially, I think this can be good in aggro or in like a mid-range like board advantage style deck, just because it is also it's a card advantage, it's card value, it's good against removal decks. It's just really a really solid 2-drop. Nemec's Manifesto, this is a new legendary. It's a 1-cost upgrade, gives +1/+1. You can't put it on vehicles, and says attach unit gains the rebel trait, and when defeated, deal 1 damage to each enemy base for each other friendly rebel unit. So they kill your guy, and then if you have a bunch of rebels in play, it blow up and deal a bunch of damage. The issue is, I think most rebel decks don't usually end up being like go wide tribal decks. Like rebel hasn't really been like a full build around. It's been sort of like a narrow piece of a deck that usually wants to run things like Fleet Lieutenant or Wing Leader, maybe Rebel Assault, but there's not much else specific towards rebels, and it certainly hasn't been like a go wide deck. The spies aren't rebels, so that kind of diminishes the value there a little bit. So I don't think this one is great. Yeah. And here we got some filler. We got the Elite Squad. It's a giant 8-drop in Villain. It's a 6/8 grit. When played, when damage is dealt to this unit, you may deal 2 damage to another unique unit. So can't even deal 2 damage to anything. Incredibly slow, right? An 8-drop that deals 2 damage to a unique unit when you play it is like very minimal value. Yeah. We got the red version of the big bulky unit. This is a 6-cost 7/6 overwhelm. Nothing special. Saw Gerrera's Ewing. It's a rebel fighter vehicle, 6-cost 4/8 Saboteur. When this unit completes an attack and survives, you may attack with another red unit. The problem here isn't the card text. The problem is it's a 6-cost that does nothing when you play it. It's incredibly slow. It does have like some cool synergy with like Cinta and pilots where you can like attack with multiple units all at once, right? Cinta, you can like pilot onto this, Cinta, attack with this, then this makes something else attack. It's just, it doesn't curve right because this costs 6. So it's not going to, like, you would have to delay your whole flip turn on your 6-cost pilots. It's so slow for a 6-cost. We got a new 3-drop here, Muckraker Crab Droid, 3-cost Villainous card. It's a 4/3. Says while this unit is ready, it can't be attacked. It can be attacked the turn you play it, though, because it's going to be exhausted when you play it, and it only has 3 health. It's not enough value here. We got a 4-cost 5/4 Vanilla. Nothing special. And we have a 2-cost 2/3 Vanilla. It's got Underworld, it's got Fighter, but again, we're not running this in Premiere. And last but not least, we've got Cunning. Well, actually, it's not going to be last because we got the neutral stuff too, but here we got fully armed and operational. It's a 1-cost trick in Villainous. It says, if an opponent attacked your base during the previous action this phase, play a unit from your hand, give it ambush for this phase, and it has plot. So it's another take on a timely intervention style effect. It costs 1. So if you play this from your hand, it's basically the same as playing timely intervention, but it has that extra restriction where you can only play it the action after your opponent attacked your base. So definitely worse in that regard than timely, but it has plot, and that's where I think a lot of the upside comes here. So because essentially then you're playing timely intervention for smuggle without the extra tax, without having to pay 2 for it. So really cool card. Nice to get this in Cunning. Cunning has Xi'an Flurry, which is another ambush giver, but only works on force units, and this can work on a ton of things. Where do I think this might fit the most? Is probably actually like either Palpatine, set 1 Palpatine, where you can create absolutely absurd flip turns with him. Usually you are getting attacked on that 8 resource turn. Like, most decks are trying to aggro out Palpatine. That tends to be the way it works. And then you can like flip Palp, steal something with 1 action, ambush something with this and another action, completely take over the board. What 7 drops can we think of to ambush? Maybe the new Thrawn, where it can like kill something and then capture something, or kill something and then ready up. You can just really do a ton of things. Legacy run's another one, especially if your opponent's playing a space deck, so you can just immediately ambush that legacy run when you flip Palp and try to wipe the board, so to speak. Another cool thing is, because this is a trick, Jabba can go find it and also make it cost 0, and now we're just ambushing any card on rate. So that's another place I would think be interesting to look at playing this, is with decks running Jabba, maybe a Cad Bane deck. Ambushing Zuckuss is powerful, right? It doesn't have to be like insta-win levels of powerful. It can just be regular powerful. Even Talzin, if like a Talzin Yellow wants to run this, on her flip turn, she can ambush a 4-drop. You got Talzin's Assassin's a fantastic 4-drop to ambush. So I think a lot of places you can try to include this card, and it's got a lot of utility. And of course, it's playable outside of just the plot turn, which is important for cards like this. We got Duchess's Investigators. It's a 5-cost 4/4 Mandalorian. It says, when played, you may disclose yellow. If you do, each opponent discards a random card from their hand. Only calling this out because it's a random card. If you really want to dig deep into like discard strategies, you play things like Ahsoka and Spark, things like that. Having another redundant piece of discard, especially one that's a random hit, could be good. Could be a nice thing against control decks. It's very, very bad stats for a 5-drop, which makes me hesitant to say it'll be great. But, not a lot of random discard in this game. We got another legendary here. This is Lightmaker. It's a 5-cost Cunning vehicle, capital ship. Has Rebel as well. It's a 3/4 with Raid 4, so it can hit for 7. It says when defeated, choose an arena, exhaust each enemy unit in that arena. So, this is really testing our 5-cost do nothing thing, because again, this is a 5-cost. It does absolutely nothing when you play it. It's pretty easy to remove as well, but it does represent infinite amounts of damage, right? 7 is so much damage. And interestingly enough, it could actually do something if they kill it even before you attack with it, right? If they can kill it the first action next turn, you can at least exhaust an entire arena's worth of your opponent's stuff. Overall, I still don't think this is going to be very good. I'm still going to stick to my guns here on 5 costs need to either be doing something major the turn you play them, or have brokenness with ambush effects like ECL. And I don't think this really does either of those things, right? Compared to Amidala, that does, even though it's slow, it's at least leaving something in play when you play it. It really falls into that issue of probably too slow, doesn't leave any value. But it hits for 7, so it's at least interesting. Regulations Bureaucrat is a new 2-cost Cunning unit. It's a 0/5 Imperial official that says action, exhaust a resource. It's a really annoying effect. It's going to be much better if you're going first and playing this card, but not terrible otherwise, because it's going to force your opponent, if you're playing this on the draw, your opponent's probably going to have to immediately play something on turn 2 to avoid you from exhausting a resource, which then means you can play something, and then they have to decide if they're going to attack with their turn 1 play, because if they do, you can claim and exhaust one of their resources, right? Now, this is very easy to remove. It doesn't leave value, right? I shouldn't say easy to remove. It has a lot of health, but if your opponent starts attacking into it, they're going to kill it for free, essentially, right? It's not going to leave behind any value, but it's a very annoying effect, and I'm interested to see what comes of it. And then we've got Accelerate Our Plans. It's a 1-cost event that says exhaust a friendly unit. If you do attack with another unit, it gets +3/+0. So you're getting a 1-cost discount on Surprise Strike here. It's the same amount of a buff, but you have to exhaust one of your units. Could be a decent thing in go wide with tokens. Likely it's not going to be good enough, at least not while Surprise Strike exists. But, I don't want to underestimate a card that costs 1 and can deal 3 damage, because that's still pushing for a decent amount of damage with that action compression too. And then just some bulk. We got Emissaries from Ryloth, a Heroism 5-drop, 4/6. When played, give a unit -3/-0 for this phase. Probably a decent limited card. We got a Skyhopper Canyon Run. It's a 1-cost 1/4 vehicle. It's a ground vehicle. Maybe a Poe deck would want to include this. You can immediately hop onto it. Make a 3/5 on turn 1 on the ground. It's pretty cool. Hired Slicer, 3/4 for 3, so it's understated. On attack, reveal the top 2 cards of a deck. If you do, you may exhaust a unit that shares a trait with them, and then you put those cards on the bottom of a deck in a random order. Yeah, it's understated. It has no relevant traits, and it's a complete guess as to whether or not this effect will even do anything, so it's not great. Special Modifications is a new upgrade, 2-cost, attached to a vehicle only. When played, if the attached unit is a transport, you make a spy, and it gives +1/+3. It's decent. The thing is, the transports usually aren't the cheap units. They're usually, some of them are 3-drops. There actually are, especially in the Underworld realm, there are 3-drop transports. But do you want to play this on your 4-resource turn? I don't know. It's decent, but I don't think it's great. And then lastly, we have a new 2-drop. It's a 2-cost 2/2 hidden in space. Yeah, not great. All right, last, we've got some villain heroism cards. We got the Heroic Arc 170. It's a 4/3 when played. If you control a damaged unit, you may deal 2 damage to an enemy unit. I think this will be a decent draft card. We've got a 3-cost 4/3 vanilla in heroism. It is what it is. And we've got the Hutt Cartel Starfighter. It's a 3-cost 3/5. When played, deal 2 damage to this unit. Theoretically, this was supposed to be like Jabba synergy. It's a Hutt ship, but it doesn't even put enough damage on itself to activate Jabba's like bigger part of his ability, the one that requires 3 damage on a unit. This could have been like actually maybe interesting if it was a 3/6 that like dealt 3 to itself. Still probably wouldn't be good, but as is, I don't even see the synergy with Jabba. And the last is just some neutral stuff. We've got the ASP Labor. It's a 1/4 restore 1 for 2. Well, it's a droid at least. We got the Inspiring Senator. It's a 3-cost 3/3. When defeated, the next official unit you play this phase costs 1 less. Maybe a limited card because it lets you maybe go from 3 to play a 5-drop the next turn. We got the Clandestine Connections. It's an upgrade that costs 2 +1/+1. Attached unit gains on attack. You may pay 2 if you do deal 2 damage to a base. It's way too expensive. We got the Inspector's Shuttle. It's a 1/3 for 2. When played, name a card, then an opponent reveals their hand. For each copy of the named card in their hand, give an experience token to this unit. There are a lot of cards that look at opponents' hands. There is also Disclose in this set. But even if you guess correctly, you just earned yourself a 2-cost 2/4, which, yes, is like maybe tiny bit above rate on a 2-drop ship. It's not great. It's not really ever going to be a turn 1 play unless you just get lucky and guess correctly. This probably fits into some draft decks just because they often need an abundance of 2-drops, but not much else. And then Assassin's Probe. It's a 5-cost 4/4 Separatist droid. When defeated, deal 1 damage to each exhausted enemy ground unit. Yeah, maybe a draft card. All right, that's it. I have reviewed every card in Secrets of Power. It was a 7-part series. If you're interested in my takes on any of the other cards, do check out the catalog there of all the Secrets of Power card reviews. Next up, I'll be doing, a leader tier list where I break down every leader in detail. Be doing like a best card series and probably a legendary card review, which may not be the most powerful bunch, but we'll be able to talk about the use cases for all of those. So keep tabs on those, as well as my pre-release prep video, which will happen as soon as I get my content creator kit from FFG, which will include some packs, and I'll be doing some like live sealed builds with that. So let me know what you think, and until next time, take care.